Welcome into a brand new edition of the Patriots Hub podcast. Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff with you after the Patriots hang on for an uneasy, I think is what I called it in my headline, an uneasy 26-20 win over the Cincinnati Bengals. We did some research and shout out to Phil Perry, who obviously does a great job covering the team for NBC Sports Boston, shared the Wikipedia page after the game for a Pyrrhic victory, which is a victory that comes at great expense to the victor. And yeah, might be using that one a few times this week in a number of ways. Frustrating in terms of how the Patriots played, even though they won the game. And then obviously the injuries were significant. We'll get to those as well, though, as we record this here at 7:30 on Sunday night. Not much information out there right now about what's going on with those injuries. That'll probably be something we learn about over the next 24 to 36 hours. But Matt, a bit of a sobering game. Look, the Patriots are 10-2. They're the first NFL team to 10 wins. They extend their lead in the division after the Bills lost Thursday night. But this is where we are with this team. Like, they are kind of shaping up like a regular contender. And a game like that, injuries and level of play is going to be cause for concern.
Yeah, to me, honestly, it's more about the level of play than the injuries, because injuries are going to happen. And obviously, you can be concerned about specific injuries like left tackle, where, Will Campbell to Vadarian Lowe, I would say there's a steep drop-off there. And if Hunter Henry gets injured again, like, I'd be concerned after the game he had today. So, like, certain injuries, you want to have some level of concern. But I'm more concerned about how they played, Barth, because they made the Bengals defense look better than they had any business being. And not to take away from the Bengals, because I thought they tackled well after coming into this game as the worst tackling team in the league. And so they had their moments out there, but I thought Drake May, had a bad start to the game. He barely recovered. He had a couple moments late in the game where, he made a couple of deep completions. He had the touchdown pass, but didn't quite overcome it enough to the point where you could feel really good about him or the offense really coming out of this game. They're going to need better from him. They're going to need better from the offense in the playoffs, especially if they end up having to go on the road to, God forbid, they got to go play in Denver on the road. If Kansas City sneaks into the playoffs, they got a big win today. And like, you end up going, well, they probably don't have to play in Kansas City at this point, but if they have to play Kansas City in the playoffs, probably going to need more from your offense. The defense, I thought, stepped up. They had arguably their best game of the season. We'll probably break it down a little more. But big picture, I'm a little more concerned about how they played this game. Really should have been a walkover going up against Joe Flacco and, arguably pretty much the worst defense in the league. Not the best showing for the offense. A couple guys stepped up, but not the best showing for Drake May. And obviously the injuries are a side piece to it, but like, that's just sort of the reality of the NFL. You're going to have to deal with injuries at some point. You don't have to deal with the offense looking the way it did today. And so that's going to be the bigger concern for me going forward.
Well, I think kind of goes hand in hand because, and look, they lost Jared Wilson relatively early, but Ben Brown has played well. Will Campbell for Vadarian Lowe is another conversation, but that was in the third quarter. They struggled before those guys went out, and now as they look to bounce back, they might have to bounce back without important players. So you mentioned Drake May, 22 of 35, does throw for a career high 294 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I think my big takeaway from the offense was they did have isolated explosive plays in this game. They had a couple to Hunter Henry. Pop Douglas had a couple big plays. Stephon Diggs came up big with a third down catch, long third down conversion, and then they hit Mac Hollins down the sideline on a deep pass, but it was what's in between. Okay, if you can get a handful of explosive plays a game, that's great. That can't be all you do moving the football. You have to be able to move the football somewhat in between that. And against this weak Bengals run defense, they run for 3.5 yards per carry, and that number's boosted thanks to some Drake May scrambles and the Pop Douglas end around. Travion Henderson, 3.7 yards per carry. Rhamondre Stevenson in his return, 5 yards on 6 carries. They did not run the ball well. I don't know what happened with him at the beginning of the game. He was just, I think, mentally not locked in. The interception to Hunter, the pick six, that throw to Hunter Henry, he's made that throw consistently all year. And Henry was open. Henry was as open as you're going to get in the NFL. So once May locked back in, I thought he was okay. Again, you got those explosive plays, and he played a big part in that. It's just the inability to do anything without that. And, okay, if you're not picking up 20 yards, can you get 3 or 4? And that goes to what to me was the biggest concern about the offense in this game, maybe more so than Drake May. Again, didn't play great, but like big picture, if we're going to say biggest concern about the offense and the way they played, it's the goal line stuff. That first series, they have 9 plays. 8 of them were inside the 5. There was the one that was backed out after the OPI that they then got back in, and they can't score. They can't get a yard. And I know they're banged up on the offensive line, but Mike Vrabel said after the game, you got to finish in the end zone. You just got to get that push, and they couldn't. That to me is the most concerning thing, because if they score in those 2 spots, they win this game pretty comfortably. I mean, you're talking about, they did kick a field goal in the second one, which was the right call. You're talking about 11 points essentially that they left on the board there.
Yeah, like to your point where it goes hand in hand, the injuries and the personnel you do have, they just, especially in those goal line plays, I think that's where it came up that my biggest issue with those plays is that they don't really have the personnel to get that kind of push that you're looking for from those play calls. So I didn't like those play calls, but at the same time, I'm not sure that they'll ever have the personnel to, at least this season, to just run it down your throat, push it over the goal line. Especially they tried the tush push that went for no gain. But yeah, just
so I have a theory on that. I have a theory on that. Sorry, real quick. Drake May's kind of struggled with QB sneaks, tush push or otherwise, throughout this season, even going back to last year. You see some teams, the Ravens do this on occasion, Steelers do it. They use other players for quarterback sneaks. It's mostly tight ends, but I wonder if the Patriots would experiment with Hunter Henry or like Mac Hollins, right? Taking an under center snap and trying to sneak that way.
And so but they didn't try it there. They just went with.
No, they did. I'm just saying, just kind of, but that's the latest example of they've struggled with that play, like you said, and it wasn't
because
so
I don't think that. I think they should just leave those on the sheet. You know what I mean? I don't think they should be trying to run plays where they don't necessarily have the personnel to execute it. So that was my biggest issue with Josh McDaniels' play calling down there. I'm not against running the ball on the 1. You should be able to get 1 yard, but they need to get it a different way than the way they tried. That's why I didn't like those play calls down at the end, especially trying 2 plays in a row to just punch it in with Rhamondre Stevenson and the way Garrett Bradbury was playing today. He's not an overly strong physical guy up the middle. And Jared Wilson isn't that guy either, but I know he was out of the game early.
Yeah.
Ben Brown comes in. And just on the injuries, this is sort of the point I was trying to make, at the beginning here, is that Jared Wilson goes down. That's not ideal, but Ben Brown, I think, is a serviceable backup. At that spot, it's an all or nothing position. Any offensive lineman, you're either playing every snap or you're not playing at all if you're a starter. And so the starter goes down. You lose the starter. You want the next man up to at least be an average, serviceable, zero-sum kind of player, which I think Ben Brown is. So I'm not overly concerned with the left guard spot if Ben Brown has to play a couple more games. Left tackle is a different story to me. Vadarian Lowe, I might have said at some point, look, I'm fine with him as the backup. But that was probably just me accepting the reality that they're going into the season with him as the backup left tackle. Now we got to go all the way back to March, Barth. We got to go all the way back to March when they didn't get even a serviceable veteran stopgap kind of left tackle. They went all in on Will Campbell being the guy. And look, now I can't wait to hear everybody talk about how big of a loss and how important Will Campbell is after we heard so much about how can he even play? Is he even a tackle?
You had a good tweet. I didn't see it till way after the game, but you had a good tweet about that.
Yes, Vadarian Lowe has 35-inch arms.
Yes, yes.
So here we go. Yeah, we got the long arm tackle. So here we go. We're good, right? Yeah,
I like this everything.
Of course, I tweet once all day. The one response I get, yeah, but he sucks. It's yeah, thanks. That was the point. Thank you. But yeah, no, Vadarian Lowe, he's got long arms, but he can't block, right? Honestly, in all fairness to Vadarian Lowe, he gave up a couple pressures, I think, all on the first drive when he went in.
Yeah,
when he had to come in mid-drive.
Okay.
I feel like he settled down after that, but at the same time, I'm not sure they really challenged him. I was keeping a close eye on Vadarian Lowe after he had to come in and play. I was interested to see, maybe Doug Marrone tapped into something with him. Maybe they'll get more out of him than they have because they have better coaching on the offensive line. But yeah, now we're going to go back to how they handled the offseason and all that at that position. That's the most frustrating part. But either way, even if they were fully healthy, I don't think they have the personnel to pull off the kinds of plays they were trying down at the goal line. So that was my least favorite part about those goal line plays was the play calling, because he doesn't have the personnel to really pull it off. I thought they had chances. They had the penalty. I thought they might have had a touchdown if Booty wasn't interfered with on that first 4th and 1 try. So I don't know why they took the ball out of Drake May's hands at all. I know he wasn't having the best day, but I'd rather put it in his hands than Rhamondre Stevenson's hands when you're at the 1 yard line on a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 at the end of the half there. But yeah, like it's just a personnel issue either way.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The OPI too is like, I don't know if he was just running the route because it looked like maybe he didn't see the defender, but Hunter Henry clears his man before Matt Collins makes contact. And if, whatever was called, he didn't need to hit the guy, like Henry got open. So that whole thing was just not great. But I will say, Hunter Henry, game saver. 7 catches, 115 yards, a touchdown, new career high. He's been kind of quieter this year, and I don't think that's necessarily him playing worse. I think that's, last year it was all him. They didn't really have anybody else for Drake May to throw the ball to. Now you've got Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte's playing much better. Pop Douglas, they figured out his role right on. And so he doesn't need to be such a high volume guy. But I don't think it's a coincidence that when Drake had was probably his roughest start of the year, boom, Hunter Henry volume game. Like that's the guy he feels comfortable with. That was the one guy, it was a disappointing performance from the offense. I stand by what I said. This is a historically bad defense. And I don't know, the Patriots got him on the right day or whatever. And the Patriots, certainly shot themselves in the foot. Hunter Henry was the one guy who kind of showed up and made it look like it. Getting open, creating after the catch, all of it. He was really good in this game. And then, the veterans too, and credit to the veterans for sticking through in a tough game. Steph Diggs, not a high volume day, but had a big catch to convert a 3rd down. Yeah. And then after, I forget, was it a hold or whatever the penalty was? They have a 1st and 20, and they throw over the middle to Hunter Henry, and he's able to pick up the 1st down. It was a chunk to begin with, but he's able to pick up the 1st down because Stephon Diggs goes out in front and sets a big block to kind of give him the angle. So your reliable veterans, Hunter Henry, Stephon Diggs, they kind of saved the offense today.
Yeah, I think it was OPI, by the way, the one that backed him up on that one drive.
Oh, maybe that's what it was, yeah.
Someone got offensive pass interference. Yeah, look, he almost had a second touchdown, not even just on the pick play. On the play after at the goal line, they had a penalty down there. That might have been a hold.
Right.
Where he caught it, and he almost got in to make up, completely made up for the penalty and got over the goal line there. And he had a big catch and run. I think on that might have been that same drive with the Diggs 3rd and 10. Like it's a little bit of a blur to me right now at the moment. But yeah, look, they this is a day they needed him to step up. They couldn't run the ball. Apparently, I guess Diggs wasn't getting open much down the field. Drake May didn't have much time to throw. So you sort of need that safety valve. And like, it was just great to see him step up. I couldn't believe it was only his 3rd career 100-yard game. This is like his 9th or 10th season. He's played tons of games. I'm surprised he hasn't had that much of a high volume game, but yeah, no, it was a great game by Henry, and it's good to see him step up, especially on like a day like today, what you're talking about, when this quarterback's struggling and it's a bit of a rock fight at times, and other guys aren't getting open or producing at wide receiver like you're used to seeing. So you sort of need your veterans to come through in a situation like that. So it was good to see Hunter Henry come up big there.
Anything else on the offense?
Rhamondre Stevenson, 6 carries for 5 yards.
I was a little surprised they didn't balance that more.
I thought Henderson looked solid when he got the ball, so I think it was fair to point out that Stevenson didn't really produce that much. Not that he was getting much help from the line in front of him, but I don't know, man. They give you the ball twice at the goal line. You can't punch in 1 yard. I don't know. I was a little disappointed with him in his return. At least he didn't fumble, but I was expecting a little more out of him in his first game back.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's a fair critique. On to the defense, where it was hit and miss. Now, look, they didn't give up a touchdown on the first drive. It was a field goal, so they didn't allow points. But they didn't give up a touchdown on the first drive, so that's encouraging. And then Marcus Jones with the spark with the pick 6 to kind of really get the ball rolling. I think so. There's 2 ways to go with this. I think there's a big positive, a big negative for the defense in this game. The positive is the corners played well. Christian Gonzalez allowed that touchdown late. That wasn't a great play. Besides that, I thought you got good play from the corners. Marcus Jones was awesome. He gets the pick 6. He has pass breakup late in the game. Maybe it was a little close to PI, but it goes in the books as a pass interference. And then Carlton Davis just balled out at the end of that game. I mean, he was insane at the end of that game. Some of those pass breakups were high-level stuff. So the secondary's been critiqued this year, I think rightfully so. When they needed them to come up and make some stops, they made some big stops late in that game.
Yeah, and Davis I thought the DPI might have been a little ticky-tack on him, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe the refs are just kind of keeping a close eye on him, but yeah, maybe they're just they're grading him hard. But yeah, I thought that was a little...
Good thing it happened. I don't know. Did you see what he said after the game?
No, I didn't. What did he say?
He said I'm going to clean it up a little bit. It pissed him off so much that it like made him focus extra and go extra hard on that last drive. So
yeah, he had a big pass breakup.
yeah,
Was that the second to last play where he broke it up?
second and
Marcus
third to
Jones,
last. Those second and third downs, he had pass breakups, and then Marcus Jones on fourth.
yeah, so that was arguably his best game. Marcus Jones, one of his best games on defense. He read it all the way on that pick six. I know Flacco. You look at Flacco and be like, "What the hell was he even thinking there?" Obviously, didn't see
I can't
Jones at
believe he
all.
threw it.
But I can't believe he threw that to begin with. But Jones, honestly, I give him a little bit of credit for like sort of hesitating and timing it perfectly. I thought he timed it perfectly so he could get the ball in stride and easy pick six for him. So I want to give him credit there. Great game for him. Up front is where they were sort of, shaky. I thought Caleb on Chason, ironically, Pro Football Focus had him leading the Patriots in total pressures. But he did arguably the dumbest thing you could do as a football player, which is jump offside on the hard count when all they're trying to do is make you jump offside. That I could do without. But Corey Durden, I thought, had a good game. He had a few pressures. It was still like sort of a part-time role, rotational kind of role for him, but obviously more than usual in terms of his snap count workload. So I was happy to see him sort of step up. So yeah, like I thought it was one of their better games overall. They gave up the one touchdown, and like the one touchdown, people are probably going to give Christian Gonzalez crap because you don't want Gonzalez giving up a long touchdown under any circumstances. But that was just like a perfect throw by Joe Flacco. Gonzalez was right there. So I don't know. I guess unless you want Gonzalez to leap 5 feet in the air and come down with that ball, like I don't know. That was just kind of a perfect pass, I thought.
I think
that was the one blemish I thought, if you want to give it to him. But other than that, they didn't give up the touchdown on the first drive, which I thought was a big step forward. And they gave up that fourth down conversion, but I don't know. That was another close play that could have been broken up or incomplete too. Like there were a lot of borderline plays there where it's like that was just a great play by the offense. I didn't see a ton of plays out there where it's like the defense is really faltering here. That's why I thought I came away from that thinking that was in the conversation for their best game of the year on defense.
And they were really good on third down too. 3 for 13, the Bengals were, and I thought the pass defense was good. The Gonzalez play, I think, is, it's definitely not like the worst coverage play of all time. I think your all-pro corner getting beat for a touchdown by somebody you have to Google just kind of shot some people up a little bit. But like, he didn't if that's the worst he defends the ball all year, great. Like he didn't it's not like he got cooked or anything. The reason the one thing I had with the defense, and look, it's not, I think you had to expect a little bit. Milton Williams was out. They lose Khyiris Tonga relatively early in the game. He only played 12 snaps. They did not defend a run well, in particularly up the middle. They allowed, I think it was 5.8. I have it in my recap, 5.8 yards per carry on runs between the guards. And it was a, significant number of runs. It was 40 something yards. And it just showed, like you saw how good Milton Williams has been this year, in Khyiris Tonga as well, by what it looked like when those guys weren't out there. And so they're going to need to figure out, and we'll see what happens with Tonga. It was a chest injury. Like those are maybe their two best run defenders, certainly two of their best three. You want to put Palmer in there, you can. Like you said, Durden had a good game. He's more a passing down player. And I thought the pass rush was good without Milton Williams. I thought guys stepped up. But Durden's a passing down player. Farm's a passing down player. Gregory, I honestly have, we haven't seen enough of him to know how they're really going to use it, but he's just an unknown. The run defense is going to have to be better than that if they're going to make a real run. And you hope they'll get Milton Williams and Khyiris Tonga back. But in the meantime, like against the Bills, against the Ravens, those teams run the ball better than Cleveland does. Like it's just something is a little worrying to see what they really looked like without Milton Williams. In that regard.
It's crazy that you go back to the preseason and we're talking about how concerned we are about the run defense because of Milton Williams. And here we are 3 months later saying, how the hell are they going to stop the run up the middle without Milton Williams? It's a testament to how he's played and how well he's defended the run, shockingly so, compared to how it looked in the preseason. But yeah, that's something that they're going to have to figure out. And, Tonga's banged up too. We'll see what's going on with his injury situation. But I don't know, man. I feel like a big run-stopping defensive tackle, I feel like you can get someone off a practice squad, sign someone off the street. Like I feel like they can get at least depth there. And I'm not saying that kind of guy is going to come in and completely transform the run defense and play just as well as Milton Williams did. But this was a 1 week adjustment. Like I'm not overly concerned about that part of it. Like, I think just the fact that they came in here and they only gave up that one offensive touchdown on a crazy throw by Flacco, and that other than that, they sort of limited them. And I know they gave up some plays in the run game, but like you're going to have to make adjustments at with a guy like Milton Williams
Right.
going down, and so they probably do need to maybe look into the street, someone else's practice squad for help there, especially if Tonga is going to be hurt, if he has to miss time. They definitely have more in the way of reserve pass rushers than run stoppers now that Milton Williams is down, and now they might be without Tonga, so they are going to need some help there,
Right.
maybe from outside the organization. But I don't know. I'm not overly concerned over just one game where they gave out some plays, but it's not like it killed them, right? So I think they sort of overcame it, which I think if it looks like that, they have enough to sort of overcome it, and they just need to add someone to give them depth and someone that can take up space against the run.
That's where it goes. It's related. I don't remember if it was this show. I said it on a show. I think it was this show. I said it on one of them. Like, who needs to step up the most with Milton Williams out? And I said the secondary, because they just haven't. There's been two more times than you probably want that the pass rush has bailed out the secondary this year. And so you saw that this year. I don't, you talk about they were able to get by it. It wasn't because of other defensive linemen making plays. It was because the secondary looked as good. The secondary, I think, had its best game of the year, to your point, or one of its best games of the year. I don't know, the Bills game's up there. But
yeah,
they're going to need to continue to do that, because it's not going to look the same up front. And I just think this was a good reality check as to what it looks like without Milton Williams. And then obviously Tonga would be a tremendous loss as well. Anything else on the defense?
I think we covered it. It was an interestingly quiet day, I thought, for the linebacking core. I don't know if that had anything to do with the run defense struggling.
I mean, those are the guys you're going to kind of look to step up at the next level. So I wouldn't say no to that.
Yeah, and the July Tavai wasn't out there today, out for personal reason. Hope everything's okay there. Seems a concerning situation with him. But yeah, like I thought overall for them to come out and to basically only allow 13 points defensively after with all their injuries during the game, I thought that was a really good day for him.
Couple quick special teams thoughts for me. Andy Borregales continues to be excellent. That kick at the end kind of reminded me a little bit of the Miami game, right? He had a similar kick in that game from 50 plus, drilled that 3 of his 4 from over 40 yards.
Big insurance points there.
Yeah, no, that was a sneaky important kick, especially when you look at how the defense botched it at the end of the first half, allowing the Bengals to go 37 plays in 3 yards and get in a field goal range, which I'm sure.
Look, he misses that. Sorry to cut you off, Bart. Yeah. He misses that last field goal. We're probably going to overtime. Like, they're probably going to
at least
make just enough plays to get in range, and McPherson was nails today for them.
Right.
So,
and remember, they're going to be on a short field after that miss. Yeah. So, that was a huge kick from Borregales. He's been excellent. He deserves credit. He deserves a lot of credit for the game, for the season that he's having. The other rookie on special teams, Kyle Williams. Finally, we got to see Kyle Williams return kickoffs. Efton Chisholm was inactive. They needed somebody else. It was Williams and Terrell Jennings. They've talked about they want the bigger body back there. I do get that to an extent. I just don't think they have the guy with both the build and the explosiveness you need. And so maybe in some situations, you just, you want to play it safe. You go with a guy like Terrell Jennings or maybe Efton Chisholm when he's active. Kyle Williams, 29 yards per return. Big return late. He got out to the 40-yard line. He looked good. He looked natural in that role. I hope we get to see more of that. I think that's a good way to keep him involved. It's a good way to help him get his feet under him. And he's just a better returner than what they've had. So I was really glad we finally got to see that. And hopefully we see more of it going forward.
I'm glad you brought that up. I would have forgotten. Yeah, Kyle Williams looking good as a returner. Maybe that's the way to get something out of him this year, right? He's not clearly far away on offense. So maybe you can get something out of him. That might be, that feels like a good fit for him. The way he can make guys miss with his footwork. Yeah. Like, I feel like it's like the guy has to be stationary until he catches the ball. Like, that actually might be a sneaky good fit for his sort of skill set, returning kicks there. So that was good for him.
Yeah, again, hopefully something we see a little more of moving forward. Just on the injuries, fine, as we wrap it up. So just to recap again, we're recording this. It's like just before 8 o'clock here on Sunday night. So there's news to come. Will Campbell left the game, did not return. Jared Wilson left the game, did not return. Morgan Moses left the game, did return. Was with an illness. He played the rest of the way. So that one maybe
he was probably dehydrated.
Right. Not, on the same level as the other ones. But then they also lost on defense, Kyra Song. And then on special teams, they lost Brandon Schooler as well. And he did not return to this game. So
all 3 phases, Barth.
All 3 phases were impacted. A team that has had tremendous injury luck basically had the pendulum swing. You had a season worth of injuries. It felt like in one game. This is going to be a big test for the coaching staff because those are not simple roles to fill. We just talked about like Tonga they don't necessarily have a backup for in-house. He's kind of a unique player. Brendan Schooler, obviously, is not a guy you can replace one for one. And then you lose the left side of your line. So, again, we'll see how long these guys are out. We don't know if it's going to be long-term with any of them, but, particularly the Campbell and Wilson ones did not look good. Those guys had to be carted back to the locker room. They have to rebuild all this chemistry on the offensive line too. So this is going to be a big test for the coaching staff down the stretch. They'll have an extra day to get ready. They have the Giants on Monday night, and then they'll have the bye week before they get this big stretch. It's 2 games with the Bills and the Ravens. But yeah, this is going to be probably as tough a test as this team has faced in terms of the internal mechanics of it. Just if these guys are going to miss significant periods of time, no injury is good, but in particular, they lost some guys that play a certain way that it's not necessarily easy to replicate. They lost some real, I don't want to say role players, but like players that they don't really have a backup for. And then again, on the offensive line, you have backups for those guys, but rookies that were playing well at key positions, and you got to replace both of them, and then the chemistry angle comes in.
Yeah, no, we haven't had to talk much about their depth because they've had such good health. But yeah, they had limited depth pretty much throughout the roster this year. So especially on the O-line, especially at left tackle. So yeah, let's buckle up. Let's buckle up for the Vidarian low roller coaster because it didn't look good for Campbell. He was emotional. I know he's an emotional guy. He cried right after getting drafted. So I don't know if he's crying because he thinks the season's over and it might not be, but I don't know. It didn't look good there. Hopefully, I think your best case scenario is he injured his MCL and has to miss a month or something like that. But yeah, it just doesn't look good for Campbell. That's the one injury that I feel like would have a chance to actually torpedo the season if he's out.
I mean, we saw what happened with Vidarian Lowe at left tackle last year. So and it didn't. Now the rest of the line also sucked, and maybe it's just a little bit easier because Ben Brown and Jared Wilson to me are comparable.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Right.
I don't think there's much of a drop off.
You
don't want a big drop off at that
spot.
Right.
The biggest drop off there, I think the bigger impact there is maybe the chemistry. Because that's the other thing. We talked about this early in the year. The line wasn't playing with great chemistry. They really started to do that the last few weeks. But you lose Jared Wilson. You have a capable backup there. Left tackle, again, Vidarian Lowe is what he is. But if it's okay, we can help that way. We can shade that way. We can protect that way. Maybe it can look a little better than it did last year. But concerning nonetheless is, again, we wait and see. Pro Football Talk had a report Campbell's going to undergo an MRI. I don't think that's necessarily a big surprise to anybody.
But yeah, I think that's pretty standard.
The team will probably know more on Monday. So, I mean, we'll see. Maybe we get something tonight. Maybe we get something before I can get this podcast up, and this is all pointless. But
I have a breaking report on Will Campbell, by the way. I just got a text here. Yeah, he's going to get the knee checked out. So,
scared me.
Breaking news.
There you go. All right, so they're going to take a longer look at his knee. Everybody else. We'll have coverage on all that. You want to be filled in on what happens there, 98.5thesportshub.com. Matt and I will also be back with another podcast on, not on Thursday, because I don't think we're going to do it on Thanksgiving. So someday next week.
Nope.
Preview Patriots Giants. I don't know when that will be, but if you want to know, subscribe to the Patriots Hub podcast, wherever you get your podcast, or the Sports Hub YouTube feed. It will be posted there. I will have a podcast with David Andrews tomorrow to go over more of this. We can talk about some of those moving pieces on the offensive line and other things in that regard. And that's what's coming up. So until then, for Matt Dolloff, Alex Barth, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you throughout the week.